For some reason, the second Godfather movie is considered by many people as one of the greatest movies ever made, or one of the greatest sequels ever made, when in reality, if you compare this to a lot of gangster movies, it is actually far from the quality of new movies in the genre like A Bronx Tale, Scarface, Carlitos Way, Legend, American Gangster, and Gangster Squad. But of course, maybe during the time it came out in the 70s, when gangster movies were relatively new as a genre, it was considered the best gangster movie because it actually had very little to compare with. But today I will analyze why it is not as great as you think, but also stuff the movie does well to get a balanced kind of review. If we talk about the actors here, Al Pacino as Michael Corleone, Robert Duvall as Tom Hagen, and Robert De Niro as Don Vito. All of these do good acts. Firstly, with Al Pacino as Michael, he is very convincing in this role as the smart son of his father, the ruthless man that does not want his kids to leave with his dissatisfied woman, or when he breaks down relations with his brother Fredo. But still, despite his good act, I feel he has done better roles in both Carlitos Way in Scarface. With Robert Duvall, I feel he does well as this lawyer that has to deal with so much shit that he has to sweep under the rug, but I feel the performance is a while away from what he did in the movie from 2014 called The Judge. With Robert De Niro, I absolutely understand that it is impressive how he learned a Sicilian dialect for this role, how he builds himself up to be the Godfather and earns respect. But with Robert De Niro being my favorite actor and everything, I've seen a lot of roles that I believe to be better than what he does here, although it is of course still a good acting performance. Secondly, if we talk about the structure of the movie, I feel that it is my biggest issue with the movie. It gets a bit messy to jump back and forward between the backstory that starts the movie with Don Vito and how he escaped to New York as a young boy and built himself a life there in this Italian neighborhood, and the story in real time with Michael Corleone and how he manages his criminal business empire. You could easily have just done the backstory with Don Vito first and then gone over to the story in real time. Let's say you did 1 hour and a half each, or 1 hour each of those events. Then I believe this movie would have had a much better structure and not have been too messy to follow, because I think this jumping back and forward stuff makes it a little bit less engaging. Generally, the movie struggles to defend the running time at over 3 hours, and they could easily have scraped off about 30 to 45 minutes, and you would still have much of the same story. You, of course, have some cool scenes, for example, when Michael Corleone gets an assassination attempt against him in his own home, when he finds his way to get to and kill Hyman Roth, when Don Vito shoots the Black Hand and becomes the new leader of the neighborhood. But generally, you can say that there's a lot of strategy talk. This court case stuff is something that does not necessarily need to be there. Then there are a lot of gatherings like weddings, New Year's parties, that can at times be a bit boring. Then I'm not saying that they need to blow themselves up every time and engage in a mafia war for the whole movie, but in a lot of gangster/mafia movies, you see a lot of more dramatic events in the movie, and a lot of them also have got better tension. What the movie does very well is the character building. We see both the stories of Don Vito Corleone and of Michael Corleone. This goes in a very excessive detail, however, and might not be as entertaining, but at the same time, it is rare to see how much of what a character sees and thinks as you do in this movie. How they build themselves up as fearless and ruthless men that you do not want to fuck with. Nevertheless, it is a lot more about the personal life of these characters and those around them, like family life and what kind of people that are on their side or not, instead of seeing the street violence and mafia wars. That is, after all, the most entertaining part of a gangster movie. If I should give a last plus point for the movie, I would say the dramatic gangster scenes, aka assassinations attempts, are quite good. But of course, again, there's too little of it, and that's just another reason why my rating for this movie will be a 6 out of 10. That might be a shock compared to a lot of people that have this movie on their top 10 list.